Hey everybody! Welcome back to the ABCs of RPGs, where we teach you the basics of tabletop role-playing games. My name is Spencer. I was the game master for our Fallout RPG session, and we're all done with technically it's the first part of the starter set campaign. There's two more chapters that's left in there, but that was our little campaign teaser for what we did in the Fallout universe. And of course, I played it with my fellow players here. Dalton.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dalton. I have he/him pronouns, and during our campaign, I played Shambles the Ghoul, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about it. Dan, why don't you introduce yourself next?
What up, everyone? My name is Dan, he/him pronouns. And during the campaign, I played Wham Bam, the super mutant. I'm also excited to talk about Wham Bam and Fallout, the tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah.
Ashley.
Hi, everyone.
Please.
My name's Ashley. I use she/her pronouns. I was playing a vault dweller named Blair in the Fallout campaign, and I am also excited to chat about the pros and cons and the good and the bad and everything about Fallout. So
And the ugly.
and the
Yeah.
ugly. No, he's gonna get hair.
Well, yeah, he has hair. Hold on. He has hair, Ashley. Don't say he doesn't.
You're right. He has hair. He's just searching for an even better toupee.
Yeah.
You leave Shambles alone.
Yeah. He'll get that geck and he'll figure out how to make it so it grows some hair.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If it can terraform the planet, it can terraform my scalp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stands to reason.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
So as we just said, this is our post-campaign discussion. We do this after every kind of campaign or different tabletop RPG that we play. It's just where we're kind of giving our thoughts and all that kind of fun stuff. So obviously, we played the Fallout RPG. One of the things that I thought was most interesting is, I'm sure you guys kind of saw, Ashley, you may not know this, but a lot of the Fallout RPG that we played, it's really geared. It only came out a couple years ago, but it's really geared. It uses a lot of the art style and a lot of the different kind of like dressings from like Fallout 4. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but there's like the 111 on like the main cover and stuff like that. So even though Fallout 76 has kind of come out in between now and then, it seems to be highly stylized off of the Fallout 4 kind of game. Each one has a little bit different kind of like art style and flavor. So I thought that was pretty interesting to begin with. So
Yeah.
I wonder if
Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
I was gonna say, I wonder if it has to do with the popularity of Fallout 4. I know that I saw a post that this weekend, Fallout 4 had like the most streams and plays on Steam after the TV show kind of dropping and people getting really excited about the show. When I know for a fact that there's multiple games that have come out, there's been like New Vegas and stuff since then. So
well, actually, New Vegas came out in between Fallout 3 and 4.
Yeah.
has there been a Fallout game after 4?
76.
76.
But, and this is the conversely to what Ashley was saying, Fallout 76, like I was wondering, is it because maybe Fallout 76 wasn't as well received? Because I know now it is popular. There are a lot of players. It's doing very well. But on the initial onset, like I remember when Fallout 76 first came out, and I got it because I'm a huge Fallout fan, and I was honestly kind of disappointed because there were no like NPCs, there were no quest lines. Like it was what it was. It was Bethesda's like Fallout equivalent to Elder Scrolls Online, right? They were doing the whole MMO thing.
Yeah.
But even ESO had NPCs in Fallout 76. Like literally in the base game when you first got it, none. Now I know they fixed that with a lot of like updates and whatnot, but
yeah, I've heard they've updated it quite a bit.
They have, but like unless you were playing with friends, it was very lonely. So But I know they've updated it quite a lot. I've been kind of wanting to give it a try since then,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking that's probably, I mean, there was such a story element behind 4. I feel like there's also more world building that occurred around 4. Um,
Yeah, and going off of that, so obviously you guys, like the starter set, it's geared towards you guys playing in the Commonwealth, like in the same area. I mean, it has one of the vaults from Fallout 4. Like it has like enemies, like they have statistics for synths in there and stuff like that. The Institute is a faction that's in this game, which is only really in Fallout 4. I'm not sure if the Institute isn't really in any of the other Fallout games. I think it was introduced in 4 and a pivotal faction in 4. So that's like one of the major things is that I noticed from from the storytelling, from the setting, is it kind of gears you towards more of that. You can easily adapt that to the other Fallout games or kind of in those different time periods if you want to do that, or even the TV show. But on top of that, mechanics. We didn't get to really go into like the crafting systems and building systems and modifying and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of rules for all of that, which was a huge thing in Fallout 4. I don't think Fallout 3 you could find different weapons. It,
yeah, so you in Fallout 3, there was nowhere near the level modding. In Fallout New Vegas, I believe, was where they, if I'm remembering right, that's where they first introduced mods, really.
Hmm.
If they did in Fallout 3, it probably would have like one like little attachment, something here. Like it was really more of like an item that you could pick up and then go into like a subscreen on your Pip-Boy and then add it, and it would give you like +1 to hit or something like that, right? So um Fallout 4 was really the game where like that the whole crafting dynamic behind it changed like how you played the game.
yeah, because it introduced building your settlement. It introduced kind of getting all those little trinkets, all those little junk things you pick up could translate into a material. Like you pick up a desk fan and it has like screws and aluminum and stuff like that, and you have to use that to build things in Fallout 4. And so very similar. There's a bunch of crafting rules like this where they break down like here's the materials you need to make this. Like mentats are some stuff is generic, like mentats needs uncommon materials times 3. It needs rare materials, but then it needs 2 brain fungus. So a lot of these different things in here are like general, but then specific. So
Yeah.
like, yeah,
And there's something funny about when you're talking about like crafting with like the settlements and everything. There,
yeah,
it almost is like a subgenre within Fallout 4, because my wife, she plays Animal Crossing every night, and she also plays Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is Disney's Animal Crossing, every night. Checks both religiously, and she was watching me play Fallout 4, and she was like, "This seems like Animal Crossing with extra steps." I haven't been able to unhear that.
yeah. Just having that comparison. Yeah, from Animal Crossing to two completely different ones. Like one's happy animal people, and the other is like the remnants of a post-apocalyptic world.
Well, I mean, depending on what fan theories you subscribe to, I bet some people have pieced together some sort of weird post-apocalypse Animal Crossing theory.
Oh, just like Pikmin. That's like the story of Pikmin too.
Yeah. Well, Pikmin, it's like in your face.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah. In general, I guess like what are your guys' other thoughts from first playing this kind of experience? Because we have, obviously, me, Dan, and Dalton have played the video games before, but Ashley, I know we watched the TV show while it was coming out in between doing these sessions and everything like that. But for the most part, you hadn't played this game before. How was coming into this, playing like a vault dweller and kind of taking on this new experience? How was playing this RPG from your perspective?
I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. I think the world is really interesting and really fun. And I didn't really know much about it going into this, as we kind of have talked about. Um, I kind of, I also have watched the TV show in the time since we started this RPG, and that was really fun too, to kind of give me some really cool visuals, because I know a lot of people probably had, a lot of settings in their mind, because you three have played the Fallout games, but I didn't really, know that much. So it was really cool to kind of see that world kind of brought to life with the show. But as far as the game itself, I think the biggest thing for me, and the thing that I enjoyed the most, and I think that's probably what is strongest about Fallout in general, is that the setting is very interesting and very thought provoking, and it also doesn't take itself too seriously, which I think is important.
Yeah, there's serious moments in for sure within the Fallout universe dealing with a nuclear wasteland, but enough kind of like satire and kind of poking fun at itself that it never really like there's always a joke within the world, right?
Yeah. I was
Oh no. Dan, I think we lost you for a second.
all right. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry, I was cutting out a little bit.
No, you're good. Yes. Just a little bit of technical difficulties, that's all. So, as we get kind of Dan back and everything, well, going off of that, going off of the story and RPG and everything like that, what were some of the? I guess we can talk more about the positives. What's everybody's kind of like positive takeaways from playing like the Fallout RPG and everything? What were some of the things you liked about the RPG? Was it just the setting, the story richness of it? We didn't get to use any of the crafting things, but did that kind of interest you? How was all the different perks you could take? Because there was a lot of perks. What'd you guys think about it?
I mean, personally, I think that they did a good job giving all of the options that I think a fan of Fallout would want in like character creation.
Mhm.
Um, really opening it up, because like that's one of the limitations of the game, right? Is that in general you're going to be a human coming out of a vault, and like that's just kind of like the nature of how the game is going to be, and like the limitations there. You have to kind of like constrain the story, but since we're playing a more open-ended thing in a tabletop RPG, I'm happy that they opened it up, provided rules for doing most of the like sentient type creatures that would like make sense to play as.
Playing
Um,
a Mr. Handy or a super mutant is amazing.
yeah, and like I'm sure that that's like something that plenty of people experienced with Fallout would like want to do, and
Yeah.
there being an avenue for that is very cool. I mean, like I can't even like think of stuff off the top of my head that I would want to play as that they didn't like provide rules for. Like that's yeah, like I would say Deathclaw. Like you right, like that's the one, but at the same time, like given what they are and how strong they are,
Yeah.
it might be a little unreasonable to expect to make that work.
Dragon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be like expecting to play a dragon in D&D.
Right.
Oh my gosh, guys, I just went to the Deathclaw stat block on page 342. They start out with 31 HP. Their physical damage resistance is 6.
Oh my gosh.
Bludgeoning damage resistance is 9. And they are immune to radiation. And they have 9 resistance to poison as well.
Also, are Deathclaws like sentient the same way humans are?
No.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know if you could really make that work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the only other thing would be like maybe synths, but like with synths you could just play as a human and say that you're a synth. Like you don't really need special rules.
That's right. Yeah. You're a survivor, but then like
Mhm.
yeah, you're like I'm part robot.
Yeah,
I'm
you can just
I'm
fix it.
escaped.
Yeah.
I escaped.
I think there are some like flavor text like stat blocks out there.
Mhm.
Like homebrew synth stat blocks out there if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there was, from what I looked, there was like a good amount of additional books they published after too that might have some of that info in it. Like there was a book
That's
all
cool.
about like creating towns and stuff. like a base building book. I think there was a book that
Yeah.
had vehicles in it. I think there was a book about playing in like the Mojave wasteland if you wanted to do like a New Vegas type thing.
Whoa, that's awesome.
It
You
wasn't.
you had me at Mojave.
Yeah. um. I'm glad that they worked in the whole special thing. I mean,
Say that.
that
Yeah.
seems like an easy win. That's an
Yeah.
easy win when you're playing a tabletop RPG. You're already probably having
Yeah.
stats in general.
Found out, guys. Originally, when they made the very first Fallout, they were trying to use the GURPS system. That's why it's so similar. Is they were trying to use the GURPS system and put it into the game, but ended up just like doing their special system instead.
What's the
which I thought-
GURP system?
It is generic. Oh, I'm trying to remember.
Generic universal role playing system.
That sounds right. I don't know how it's played, but yes, generic universal role-playing system. Its first publication was in 1985, and it's published 4 editions so far since then, with the last one, 4th edition, coming out in 2004. I believe it is a open license. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a lawyer. Don't quote me on that. But I know a lot of systems do like using the GURP system because it's a generic, like pretty open system. So
What its big thing is that like they publish a lot of supplements. Like the base game is very simple and like setting agnostic, and then they publish a ton of different supplements for like adding in whatever you want. So like if you wanted, you'd start with basic GURPS if you're trying to like build to a Fallout, and you'd maybe add in like the survival supplement. You'd add in like a desert supplement. And you just grab all of those books, those small like supplements together to kind of craft one particular thing you're trying to make. It's just meant to be like a very versatile, open-ended type of thing.
Modular,
Yeah.
it seems.
It's made by the same people that published Munchkin, I think.
oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, cool.
So, funny enough, on the GURPS Wikipedia page, under licensed work, it says the computer game publisher Interplay licensed GURPS as the basis for the post-nuclear war role-playing game Fallout in 1995. Late in development, they replaced the GURPS character building system with their own special system. Apparently, it was because they have fundamental disagreements on the game's content. So that's why ultimately they made their own. But still, super neat to kind of wrap back around, right? Like Fallout starting kind of like from an RPG standpoint and wrapping back to seeing it here with Modiphius's 2D20 system. So
Yeah.
but yeah, some of my favorite things about this particular system is that the crafting system is really cool. There is a lot of tons of different like little rules in it to build. They have so much stuff. There's so much stuff listed in here. They not only have how to build mentats, but you can do orange mentats, and one of the main ingredients is
Great.
other mentats and carrots. Like
Yeah. And that's like part of what I really loved about this game is that it was like a 1-for-1 Fallout 4 pretty
Yeah.
much, other than change how the stats are calculated and how you do combat, and honestly not even that much do combat. And it's a pretty awesome conversion.
Going off of the combat, yeah, that was the other thing too. None of you guys played Dune, but Dune obviously is the same. Modiphius did that one too. And going from Dune and having very light rules on combat, so much so that I had a lot of questions, more so than I felt like I had answers. There is a lot of combat rules in here. So much so that like different weapons have different damage, they have damage effects, they target different body parts. All of that feels very Fallout. Like you don't have a VAT system, but you still get to target different body parts if you want, or even if you don't, you roll to see what body part you hit. That's very Fallout. I love that. So I love how detailed combat felt, especially coming off of Dune and coming into that, and feeling that like a game like Fallout that, well, of course, started with kind of like that isometric top-down view, morphed into a first-person shooter. Being able to see how much combat is still important to the game, um, playing in the tabletop version of it, I thought that was very cool.
Going off of that, I personally really liked the action points system. I thought it was a really cool way to kind of encourage teamwork within the game. I thought it was really interesting to have this pool that's shared among everyone, and it's very much, one person could easily be like, I'm going to spend all the action points without talking to everyone, but obviously we want to have good etiquette and kind of work together as a team in that steamroll. And I thought that was kind of an interesting and cool mechanic. I liked the different things you could do with the action points, and I do like how much interaction it encouraged between players.
Yeah.
I would agree. I like the like action points for the most part. I think just having the one type is better than some of their other games where they have like multiple different types of things. Like I think Dune had two different pools. They had momentum and threat.
Uh, so just like how you guys had action points and I had action points,
Hmm.
instead of it being called the same thing,
They're just
it
called different
basically,
things.
yeah, they're called different things. Action points for you guys would be called momentum, and mine would be called threat. So
Gotcha.
it's very, very much the same thing in that regard. So
Okay.
even the mechanics of buying d20s and stuff like that and having those extra things to pay for different stuff, very similar between the systems. You guys wouldn't have, it's much easier, I would say, to go from Fallout to a Dune than Dune to Fallout, just because you have to learn more combat rules and stuff like that. So
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I in general liked it. It felt the only thing I'd be worried about is with the wrong DM, it could feel kind of like adversarial.
hmm.
Like a DM could be very punishing with that, but like I mean, they can be punishing anyway. They
Yeah.
don't need rules to do that.
Yeah,
Oh.
there is like there were a lot of moments that I remember thinking like, wow, the DM or the GM here has a lot of power.
Mhm.
Like it could like not that like with great power comes great responsibility. That basically boils down to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, like, that's just general good game mastering advice, right? Is like, you are a referee. You're not against the players. You are there to make sure that everybody has a good time. Matthew Koval is a guy I watch all the time on YouTube, and that's his main philosophy. Is that he always tells about like his game master, his dungeon master growing up. He would say like, "Hey, like, how do you know if you've done a good job?" And he goes, "Well, you just ask the players. Did you guys have a fun time? Yeah, them doing a good job." So that's the thing is telling that kind of like story together and experiencing that. And that's the kind of mindset you have to go into that. I view the action points, my action points or threat in Dune, I used it more so to provide tension in the story and to provide challenge, right? Like for example, one of the points it specifically said in the adventure was as you guys were exiting the room, if you depending on what you guys did, the Mr. Handybot could have been just patrolling, but he wasn't because you guys disabled the alarm system, I believe. Um, and so I used 3 points of that action points. It said I could turn in three of those action points to make him appear there. So basically, I viewed that as like, oh, normally this instance wouldn't happen, but I have this pool of action points at my disposal. I can turn some of those in to provide more tension to the story, and therefore introducing an enemy character to kind of try to stop you guys before you just escape with Mika in hand, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. I even the way you I don't know if the way you describe that kind of like
yeah.
irks me a little bit
Oh,
because it kind of like takes away player agency. Like didn't like we put in like effort and resources and problem solving to specifically avoid that occurrence, but
mhm.
because you felt like it, you just got to kind of like wave that away.
I understand that perspective, and I think there are definitely going to be players out there who probably feel the same way. I I often think about like with your action points, or at least how they described it in the Dune books, when you were gaining momentum, um, whenever you roll, you're gaining those dice pools because you rolled really well to get those points added on. The same thing happened with my end. The reason why I amassed different stuff is I started with 3 points and then over time gained more action points depending on circumstances that were happening. Like every time you guys were acting aggressive with each other at the beginning of the standoff, I added points to my pool. So, in a sense, it's supposed to be bouncing off of how your characters are interacting. Now, the starter set definitely had it like anytime your characters are being aggressive to each other, add points to your pool. If I was GMing in the future, I would make it so like if there was maybe a complication, because I think you can ignore complications to give me like points. And so it's kind of like turning that in to be handled later, right? It's like I don't want to suffer this consequence right now, but I'll push it off till later. In a storytelling aspect, it's kind of like that. I'll gain good rolls when I'm rolling good, but I may give away bad stuff right now, and bad stuff might happen later instead. So I think that's what the system is going for a perspective. But Dalton, I completely understand your point, and I feel like, yeah, some players, that adversarial role kind of comes out, right? So.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, Spider-Man, right?
Circle back.
Circle back to Spider-Man. Get your own pen out.
GM's got a lot of power. Don't use it. Don't abuse it.
Yep.
Well,
Other things I liked still in character creation is all of the perks. That's also very Fallout. Um, big list of little bonuses. Obviously, like some of them were more straightforward or like iconic or useful than others. I mean, I was reading through some of them, and some of them didn't. I didn't understand either what they were trying to be or the point, or like why anybody would take them. But that's just kind of what happens when you're like throwing everything at the wall
Yeah.
and trying to get a giant list of like one paragraph abilities. But that definitely evoked Fallout really well. Especially all of the little Pip-Boy illustrations for all of the perks too.
Love that. So much art.
That was cool.
So much good art. Well, yeah, I think with that, like, what are some of like Dan, Ashley, and Dalton, if there's anything more, what are some of your other guys's things that you think that other players might have to watch out for, things that you think the RPG could have done better at, like to improve or anything like that? What are some of the things, if any, did you have any kind of hiccups on, I guess?
I think for me, like the melee bonus, like getting that down at first and like trying to understand how many dice I'm rolling, that was kind of confusing, I think the other thing for me, there were a lot of opportunities for not only for like the GM to kind of abuse power, but there's also kind of a lot of opportunities for the player to like bail themselves out.
Yeah, like trading.
I both love that, but I also kind of don't love that, like the luck points. The luck points, it was awesome, but at the same time, it was like, damn, like I got to jump to the front of the line, just because I've got 5 luck, right?
Yep.
I use that point and then I go. It seems like our luck points probably would have refreshed pretty quickly. I don't know.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was like kind of like, okay, this is, I don't know. I feel like they could have done a little bit differently was and how they handled like locations.
Yeah.
I know it was very like, it's kind of more like theater of the mind versus I feel like with how tactical Fallout can get sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of did it a disservice by not having it more like a grid system, and like having like an actual representation where they could have done more with like, hey, you actually have the settlement and you have the terrain. Like it felt like it could have been something bigger, and it feels like it's limited and pared down to what it could have been because of like how they handled movement, you know?
Yeah, and that's a holdover of the Modiphius 2D20 system because that's the same way as it is in Dune. It's organized into zones instead of organized by distance, right? So it's like, oh, you have these areas, and these areas are going to be what you're moving through. So like, I showed the two different ways of doing it, right? I showed like the circles, which was the original map that we did, but then I had that hallway that I just kind of drew lines through and said, okay, here's different areas. And we kind of did ranges based on that, right? Because you have close range, medium range, long range, and extreme long range, right? And but even that can be varied. Like I would say that when we were outside and I was describing, there's the vault entrance, there's the hillside, there's the top of the hill. I feel like those distances were longer than that hallway. But I that's how like the game kind of said like, hey, draw it out like this. These are the distances you would have. So it is very theater of the mind. It's very, very loosey goosey when it comes to distances with that.
Right.
I think that my biggest piece for this game was I think, hot take, I think that the 2D20 system wasn't the best for Fallout. I think that Fallout would have benefited from having a single die with a difficulty that you had to either roll over or roll under. And whether that's a D20 like in Dungeons and Dragons or Symborum, or whether it is a D100, like a percentile type thing like in Call of Cthulhu. I think that would have been a better fit because I felt like it there's room for so much crunchiness that it became almost unnecessarily complicated to have to say, here's your target number, and you need 3 successes of this target number.
Yeah.
When you could have just adjusted like one number to simplify it here, and then you can focus on the complexity in combat, in distance. You can get grittier in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And focus on those things while having just kind of one simplified rolling system. And I think that Fallout would have benefited from that.
And it's crazy because as you look at the character sheet, it's almost kind of set up like a Dungeons and Dragons character sheet, right? Because you have the special stats at the top, which is kind of like your normal attributes, and then you have like skills, which are basically skill proficiencies. So but it's definitely the 2D20 system that Modiphius just takes these IPs and kind of makes into these different RPGs, and they kind of they fit the IP on top of it. So
right.
I think go ahead, Don. Were you saying something?
I was just going to say Ashley Justin agrees with you. He said in chat.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah.
Justin.
You guys know Justin played the Dune one, so very similar. So,
but yeah, like it definitely all of the different like it really is all just an abstracted. You're just messing with probabilities, and you could get those exact same probabilities just doing a D100 roll under, or a normal D20. You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need all the different like layers of whatnots and doodads.
But Dalton, that won't make me unique. I have to be unique. I can't just use a D20 to solve all my problems.
Well, you don't have. You do Call of Cthulhu. Do D100 roll under.
No, that's Call of Cthulhu. They've done the D100.
No,
nobody else can do it.
Though.
Yeah.
I think the action points is what sets it apart.
Yeah.
No, the dice have to be unique too. Everything has to be unique.
I just it was a little. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's a little too fiddly. I would rather just like know the thing, roll the dice, and move on. I don't want to have to like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. I get these dice to start. Like this is my dice pool. Do I want to buy more dice? There's a lot of thinking that goes into it ahead of time and justifying things, and I'd rather just roll and move on.
And I think that's the cool thing is I'm one of the things I'm happy about, and to put a positive spin on that, because I agree. I think the 2D20 system, especially when we were playing it for Fallout, Dune, I could be a little bit more forgiving because it's a little bit like some more storytelling and stuff like that. But for Fallout with the crunch, I agree. I think it's a bit of a weird system to kind of put onto this, and I'm grateful and I'm happy that they at least have like a RPG form of Fallout somewhere. And I feel like you could take the different systems in it and kind of fit them in other places. I feel like you could still take a lot of these different things in here and replace some of the rules. It takes more work, you know. It's but how many fifth edition of different retrofit stuff have we seen? There's like a ton of stuff. So
Yeah, like you could probably take out like the survival chapter and drop those survival rules into other systems
yes,
fairly easily. You would have
yes.
to probably switch out one of my least favorite things, which is stop making proprietary dice. Stop deciding that like my d6s are going to be different. I'm going to have fancy d6s. They're going to have different symbols on them.
Star
They won't
Wars
have,
did it.
they won't have the little Pip Boy on them.
Yeah. I have to have my Pip-Boy dice. Star Wars did it. With that, we have to be unique.
Star Wars
And then
Fantasy Flight is
then we
even
can-
worse because they're fancy d12s.
It's a bunch of dice.
It's
not just one.
ridiculous. Stop doing it.
Sorry, Dan, you were saying?
How else are we going to sell our fall themed and Star Wars themed dice?
At least they.
There's
At
money to
least,
be made, damn it, because you buy it.
People, if you just made normal d6s with Pit Boys on them, people would buy those.
People would buy them.
They'd probably
Yeah,
buy more of
yeah.
them.
They
Yeah.
make it because you buy it.
Right, but they'd buy more of them if they were just normal d6s and weren't like blank
You
on
know
half
what?
the sides.
Guarantee you, one Google search, they make those too.
Oh yeah, they definitely make those too.
They make both. You know why?
It's
Because
not
you
a
buy both. See, Spencer and I used to live together, so he knows, what I'm gonna. I mean, yeah.
So
Justin
like an
thinks
old
it should
married-
be a D50 system.
D50. Oh, excellent. Let's go. Just.
You know what? What was dodecahedron? What was the word for the 260?
D260.
It was something. Dalton found it.
I
We'll have to scavenge.
I
it.
just Googled how to say 260 in Greek
Yeah.
and added hedron at the end.
Oh, man. Oh no, I found Ashley's Dysdiacus triacontrahedron.
Because we know that Quora is the most reliable source on the internet.
I sound like I was having a stroke there. Anyways.
Wikipedia after Reddit, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, the only thing I heard like there was like it was a little rough on release. There was a bunch of stuff missing. Like looking at the errata, there's a lot of errata. And
Mhm.
a lot of published things that were like missing or changes to numbers and stuff. So like we come across this every single time we play a thing, but it sucks that you always have to like say no, we're done editing and publish it. But like it
Yeah.
really feels like everything we've ever done really needed one more editing pass.
Yeah. I wonder
Like,
if that's
it-
an industry thing, but yeah.
I think that's just the nature of writing. That it's like
Guys, I can tell you, at work, I just got I got done like a couple weeks ago with 100-page catalog. I helped a little bit on it. Actually, one of my coworkers did probably 95% of the work, and she's awesome. And like that 100 pages of just like lines of like different stuff. I mean, it's kind of different, but also kind of the same. You know, there's just so much content that goes into it. You have so many hands in the cookie jar. I can understand, right? Like
Yeah.
it definitely it probably could have used one more pass, but how many passes you're gonna find? Every pass brings changes
I
too,
know.
because someone's gonna be like, oh yeah, I found this technical edit, but I also reread this and this needs more clarification, right? And then you're starting to get into like opinion gray areas, right? At some point you have to cut it, publish it, and that's why books have editions.
yeah, but
I mean,
like,
sorry, you're saying, Dalton.
I was going to. I think it was the last session we did where like we read word for word what was it? What a blast weapon does,
Yeah.
and
We
like,
were
all
like,
of us
what does this
came out of it with a different opinion.
Yeah.
And then we went to Reddit, and Reddit was like too powerful, too strong.
Right, there's like, oh yeah, no, he clarified it in the Modiphius Discord 3 years ago that you're never gonna be able to find.
Found a Discord. You found a Discord comment, and this is our first party source that we. Oh yeah, this guy used to work at Modiphius.
It reminds me of Jeremy Crawford just constantly on Twitter answering people's questions
Yeah.
about D&D, right? It's just being somebody's like, "Hey, what about this thing?" And he's like, "Okay, it's like this. This is what we intended." Oh man. So, but yeah, no,
I was
What were
gonna
you
say,
saying,
that kind of reminds me of what's happening with Helldivers right now, with like the drops that they're doing, like company wide.
yeah.
You know, like the CEO just tweeting stuff like, "We've heard reports that there are flying bugs. These are false."
Yeah.
They're no flying bugs.
Everybody knows
Maybe
bugs
system.
can't fly.
Yeah,
Report that traitor to your democracy officer.
yeah. I love the component of bringing like the fun into real life.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So,
I going back to Fallout, I really liked the integration into Roll20. I thought that was really cool.
yeah.
But one thing that I think could be improved upon is I do not want to hand type every single item that I have. I think it would have been really helpful to have it where you could just search the item, add it, it already knows the weight of the item and the damage and things like that. I think that would have really streamlined it. Because I think, that's kind of the whole point of having integration is to streamline that process.
Yeah.
And if I have to type it all, I mean, why not just handwrite it all on my sheet?
But Ashley, you could click a hyperlink that tells.
Yeah, I don't know how in depth Roll20 lets you be with that sort of thing.
On the D&D,
I don't
yeah,
know.
because on the D&D character sheet, like they don't have feats in there. You have to type in your spells as well manually and put in descriptions too. So I don't know if that's a Roll20 thing. I don't know if that's something they could have added. It's like, man, if only there was a system outside of Roll20 that did that for you, that kind of just had everything at your fingertips and calculated your character sheet, had all of your items and your abilities. Wow. You know what? CompCon was really cool for Lancer, wasn't it?
CompCon was really fucking cool.
And it was free.
It was awesome.
Sorry, Dan. We loved. There was a entirely different website called CompCon we used for Lancer, and it had everything. It was beautiful. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I wish every game had something like that.
It even felt like you were like diegetically operating a mech while you were like clicking buttons.
Okay, now I want to play Lancer.
Yes. I mean, you can go to CompCon right now and check out the website. It's rad. It's fucking rad.
We can show you some of that stuff later.
Yeah.
But we should be talking about Fallout.
Back to Fallout. Sorry, I wanted to. We were talking about looking up systems and stuff, and it just made me think. It just reminded me of how good CompCon was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But yeah, anything else that you guys kind of thought? I think we all kind of agree that the 2D20 system, at least working for Fallout, is a little bit weird. It's a little bit counterintuitive. I even tried to explain it to. Yeah, I tried to explain it to some newer people to D&D the other day, and it was a little bit harder for them to grasp as well. I think when you start rolling it, or at least this happened in Dune when we were playing with Justin and I and Christian, explaining to them in session 0 had no idea how it worked. But when we started doing rolls, it clicked a little bit more. But even looking at the character sheet here compared to like the Dune character sheet, it's very different. It's a lot more, like we said, it has the special system. It looks more like a D&D like character sheet rather than kind of like a rules light kind of RPG kind of rule sheet and stuff like that. So I think if I was running this, I'd probably retrofit 5th edition for people and run 5th edition with like the scavenging rules and the crafting system and stuff like that and do that. I love using other systems and stuff, but I'm thinking about people who have played Fallout and almost everybody has played like a 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So that'd be a very easy, I know the rules, let's convert this and do that. But A little bit fiddly with we'd have to work out shooting rules and stuff like that, but for the most part, I feel like it would work pretty well. So,
I mean, I think that I don't know if I would pick fifth edition because I don't know if like a class based game.
hmm,
If I'd want to do that for Fallout, I like that this game was classless and let
yeah,
you kind of like do whatever, and there was just like a big pool of abilities that you could pick from and do whatever you want with.
hmm,
Yeah, and you could still kind of stylize your character into something that you wanted. Like Dan was able to create more of a fightery type person, and I had more of a sciency person.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I honestly, the Call of Cthulhu system would probably work better.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
It's a good point then. Yeah,
yeah,
being able to convert that instead,
Yeah.
or just go back to GURPS.
yeah.
GURPS. I mean, because Call of Cthulhu, you didn't. Yeah, there weren't classes in Call of
No,
Cthulhu.
same thing. It was you had skills, and it was based on that D100 system and everything. So, and there's already guns in there, so you could just kind of adapt that.
Mhm.
Just have different energy types.
Yeah.
You got some guns. You got some
Guns.
laser beams.
I didn't read any of like the lore sections of the core rule book. Did
Hmm.
anybody look at those? Were those well written? I know there's a lot of it.
The lore specifically, like just giving the backstory and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the 150 pages of world building in the core rule
Hmm.
book that kind of like describe the factions and key locations and everything.
No, because I played Fallout 4.
That's fair.
I did not, but I can give my perspective from reading both the adventure booklet and the starter set and the quick start.
Mhm.
And I will say that it does kind of assume you've played the games before when kind of doing the quests and everything. Because it doesn't fully explain what different factions are and different like things are. It might give a tidbit, like it might say, "Oh, a Brotherhood of Steel. They collect a pre-war technology, and that's it." And they'll kind of move on, so you're missing a lot of the history, which I wish now
I
I
do
wish
wonder if that's what's in that 150 pages of lore.
yeah, yeah, I wish I could have I should have read it, but yeah, because because I'm familiar. Same thing with Dan. I'm just like, oh yeah, I know this.
Oh yeah, easy,
Oh, but
easy money.
I will say another thing that I'm a little bit sad on with the vault. You guys are supposed to go into Vault 95, which I'm not sure if you. I think we talked a little bit at the end of the end of the last session, but Vault 95 is a vault in Fallout 4. And even before we were discussing this, I read the quick start and we were going to do that adventure, but then I saw that the starter set had a vault, and I was like, oh my gosh, the vaults are my favorite thing in the Fallout games. I want to do a vault. And so I got really excited, and then I got really let down because it was just a vault that I've already experienced in Fallout 4 before. I was a little bit excited to get a brand new story and kind of do that. But me as a overachiever DM, game master,
So humble.
yeah, I decided to make it Vault 93 instead, and left you guys with those clues that I made and everything. But basically, my whole goal was taking a real life sociology experiment that uh, is probably something that shouldn't have been done, which was the Sanford prison experiment, and just kind of like retrofit, putting it into this and making this the experiment instead, because it seems like a lot of the different Fallout um, vaults oftentimes have ties to other like sociological experiments, but like not always. So that's what my goal was and everything. So I was a little bit sad that it was a vault that you could already experience in the games, but I tried to make the best of it.
Along with that, something that made me a little bit sad was like there was nowhere to. You couldn't actually go into the vault and explore it. Like we talked about it after the last session. It's like a dead end, and there's all of these autotron attack bots. Something. Assaultrons. There's all of these assaultrons, and they just keep attacking you. And then there's
Yeah, I also thought we were gonna go like into the vault And then we were leaving the vault. I guess we were in the vault.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just like we were in like the overseer's office or something, and that was it.
I mean, I'm guessing like, you know, GM, you could probably flavor text that a little bit more and like create more into it. You know, I feel like, you know, I feel like Modiphius's answer would probably be like, you know, hey GM, just do more, right? Like, but at the same time, like, kind of goes back to what I was saying with like the movement. Like when they had the zone, like they're not actually creating like a physical space like that you can imagine and move and interact in like with.
Yeah.
You know? Like
yeah.
Yeah.
You're dividing this hallway up arbitrarily. So
like just make a map.
Yeah.
Make a map.
You had it. They made the video game. You just just put the map of the video game, put it in print it.
Yep.
What? Like oh, that's like the one specific thing license you can't use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, oh, you can't give away the blueprints of the map. Like, no, they use the dang artwork one for one for all the perks and all the same perk names. Like, it obviously was licensed. Of course, you could have used the map.
Yeah,
they used the map.
Yeah, that's just kind of like the nature of the adventure. That's the adventure module. I mean, there's probably other better written adventure modules out there that have those details in them.
And that's what I was going to say. I only read the first chapter or the first kind of section, the first of 3 sections of the starter set adventure, and kind of let down by this beginning one. But I did read the quick start all the way through, and I will say, it's a very thorough adventure, and I would say very fun. It's more, you run into a Brotherhood of Steel member who has like a comically large, like, a bunch of like equipment stacked on the back of his power armor, and he's an old man, and so you go up to him, you're like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, well, a vertibird went down, so I gotta go get it and take it out. And like, you're as the party, you're supposed to be like, hold on, let us do that for you, and you pay us? And he's like, yeah, of course I'll pay you. And then you go off on an adventure, and it's a 3 different location spanning adventure, ranging from investigating a vertibird to scavenging a small town to fighting kind of an army, which is pretty great.
Again, I want to come up with a Kojima name for him.
Just an old guy in like a power suit of armor who has like a comically large amount of like equipment on his back.
Yeah, Oldie Pac-Man. That's his Kojima name.
Oh, why didn't we play that adventure?
Yeah, I know. I got so excited for the vault, and then that was Well,
I mean, because what you just described sounds like the Magic School Bus, but on nuclear crack. You know,
well,
like radioactive crack. Like what? That sounds like so much fun. Instead of going in and dipping your toe in and fucking a bunch of rapes, dude.
Yeah. Well, I've read that adventure. You know, we might revisit some of our older RPGs here in the near future. So maybe that's something we can give Fall another shot, or we could adjust some rules if we really want to. But that's something we can do in the future, since I already kind of have that read and prepared. So that's something we can definitely do. So don't give up hope yet, Dan. We'll meet old Pac-Man. Oldie Pac-Man. Was it Oldie Pac-Man, Dalton?
Yeah, Oldie Pac-Man.
Oh, I love this so much. I kind of want to throw out his actual name and just use that.
Yeah, yep, I'm sure. Let's play Death Stranding, the role-playing game. Has anybody made that yet?
Yes, I would like to make a delivery.
Yes.
To walk.
You can become a post office.
Yeah. And Corbin Reedus. Okay, there we go.
If I may sidetrack just a little bit, Dalton, I know you have this, but Ashley and Dan, there is somebody we backed on Kickstarter. His name is Griffin Saddlebag. He has an Instagram, or I'm not sure what their pronouns are. They have an Instagram that they post a lot of different items, and they published 2 different books of a bunch of different 5th edition specific, like Dungeons and Dragons items. But Griffin Saddlebag is kind of like their moniker, like their name, and they did include in their second book the Griffin Saddlebag, which is like the item that they take their name from, and the whole point of it is that it like every once in a while spits out like a name, and you have to go find that dude, that person. And when you do, they have to pay you money, and then the bag spits out an item for them, like a magic item. So you're literally just like a magic postman going around and doing that.
Mhm.
And it makes me want to just play a D&D adventure of just being a magic item delivery man.
Yeah.
Like I just imagine being in the middle. I've got like 2 spectators at, like, and all of a sudden one of my party members is just like, "Ah, I gotta go.
I gotta go.
Like this is kind of important. This is very important, right?
Yeah.
Nah.
Taking us back to Fallout, Joe's Ragman asked us a question.
Yeah.
Do you guys find that Fallout is more heavy on the mechanics and rules and less on roleplay than something like old school D&D? Curious from people that play a lot of different tabletop RPGs.
This is gonna. Yeah. Go ahead, Dalton.
I'll go first, I guess. In terms
Yeah.
of like old school D&D, like older systems and more simple systems, yes, I think for sure. Way heavier on systems and predefined rules. Anything that specifically says you need like three pipes and a doodad to make a gun instead of just like, yeah, I have a spear and I have a torch now, is probably going to be a little bit more complicated. Old D&D was pretty rules heavy. I guess I'm more coming at from like an old school revival type thing, like a knave or a cairn.
See, Dalton, I was going to take the opposite opinion because we were describing that the 2d20, taking the doing the skill test, right? Grabbing your d20s and rolling that. It's a simple rule, but it's complicated. So that part is a little bit hard to grasp at first. So that part of it, I think, is pretty simplified when it comes to just like rolling for combat and stuff like that. It's kind of just like you just make a skill roll in D&D. It's like you just make a skill roll. That's the main thing you do. But I will say the other additional mechanics like the crafting and stuff, yes, that's where it kind of gets into the weed of doing stuff, picking out perks and everything. I think it's easier. I think it's a little bit easier and less rules complicated than 5th edition of D&D. But I do think it's still a bit more of a complicated system.
The expert rules for D&D were what, like 75 pages long? Like if you Google D&D expert rules, like it's less than 100 pages long.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I honestly,
68 pages.
yeah.
There you go.
I honestly haven't played old school D&D, so a lot of my
same.
experience with role playing games comes from kind of fifth edition and beyond. I would say that this, compared to other RPGs I've played, it's not quite as it's sort of middle of the road, I would say, on complexity with mechanics and rules. Like I feel like I've definitely played crunchier systems. I feel like Lancer was very tactical, very crunchy. I even feel like Call of Cthulhu is a little bit crunchier. Now, that is given with the fact that I haven't played with the crafting rules because we didn't get that far. But I do feel that there's been other games that I've played that have definitely been much rules lighter. Like the different Powered by the Apocalypse, like Avatar, is much more focused on role play than on combat and rules. So I would say I would classify it as kind of middle of the road compared to the different RPGs that I've played. I would say it's kind of on par with maybe like 5th edition and Symborum in level of complexity from what I've seen of the starter set.
Less complicated than Pathfinder.
Yeah. and the question also was asking like do you like if is there more of a focus on mechanics compared to the role playing aspect? And coming from Dune felt like it was rules light, especially compared to this. There was like the combat was you roll a contest, and if you win it, you defeat a minor enemy, or you start scoring like have to get a tally of like 3 different wins against a major enemy, and then they're defeated. So like compared to Fallout, we actually have HP and damage resistance and rolling for body parts and stuff. I would say Dune focused more definitely on role playing. Fallout here, I think it does both, just like fifth edition. Like fifth edition has a good balance of role play and combat, but I think it definitely has both.
Yeah, I will say that like when you get down to using the mechanics, maybe not even like all the mechanics, but like combat feels more theater of the mind role play than but we also just talked about the dice, so I don't know. I mean, there definitely is a balance, but the combat felt more like Avatar to me than it did D&D, if that makes sense. If that, yeah, I don't know how to quantify or qualify that, but or like that. I guess that's just a feeling, my vibe.
Yeah. No, yeah. A lot of this is vibes, man.
All vibes, man.
When has it ever not been vibes?
It's all Spider-Man. It's all Spider-Man, man.
I'm briefly looking through just like Joas Ragman and Justin kind of going back and forth. Like Justin's talking about THAC0 right now and everything. So it's great.
Yeah, I guess like it comes from like I think when someone says old school D&D, I think like basic expert. Like I go all the way back, not like third and 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But third and 3.5 is old also.
Oh.
Yeah. I will say, Dalton, by the way, this expert rules, there's tiny font. The font is tiny. They can squeeze more into a page. So also, they totally have a topless mermaid here on page X22 or on page 22. So
yeah, fish nipple don't count.
So Joas Ragman says that he started on the D&D basic set in the early 80s.
Whoa.
So that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could give a good perspective. I haven't played any of like my first edition was 4th edition, so I haven't played any of like the older editions. But to me, it seems like the newer systems seem to be a little bit easier to read, and that just might be just like time. Like people got a little bit better at describing rules of like their new systems and their basic systems and everything. But I don't know. There's still a little bit of holdover stuff because like Call of Cthulhu. I think we all agreed like they didn't update all of the rules, and there were some like rules that seemed to be carrying over from older editions, and they seemed to be needlessly complicated. So, but no,
yeah. I mean, overall, I think they did a very good job making it feel like the Fallout video games.
Yeah.
If you enjoy Fallout and you want to play a Fallout tabletop RPG, I think this does as good a job as any.
Yep.
I think you'd have a lot of fun building characters and inhabiting the world, especially if you liked Fallout 4. I can't really comment on if you didn't like what Bethesda's been doing with it and you wish it was still Fallout 1 and 2. I don't know.
Or just New Vegas.
Maybe it's different. Or just New Vegas.
I love all of them.
I think the one perspective that I can add is as someone who is not familiar with Fallout going into this.
Yeah.
And I personally really enjoyed the game. I felt like it was okay that I hadn't played all of the video games. I think having watched the show was really good and added a lot of additional perspective to it, but I think that it is a decent game in its own right, just without being a fan of the video games as well.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts from you, Dan?
Um, yeah, no, I agree. I think overall, you know, good, solid, right? Like worth it. Worth the time. It's fun. I think especially if you're like looking to get into TTRPGs and are like a big Fallout fan, this would be a good fit for you. I think in terms of a fit for brand new players, like you've never played TTRPGs before, you might need a little hand holding, but I think overall it's pretty solid. There are some things that can be improved upon, but hey, that's
everything.
everything. Yeah. So no, I think my only other thought pissed at Spencer because we played the like half vault adventure and not the magic school bus never ending story adventure where we get carted off in the sky by a Brotherhood of Steel member and go on some crazy quests.
In Spencer's defense, I think we all wanted when Spencer pitched them initially, we were all like, let's do the vault one. That's the Fallout.
Yeah.
That's the most Fallout one is doing the vault one.
We all thought the vault was going to be better than or more expansive than what it was. So, but like I said, Dan, look to the future. We can play that quick start. We can be carried off by crap. I'm trying to remember the name you just came up with, Dalton. Old Man Packy.
Sure.
But we can be
Oldie
carried
Pac-
off by him.
Oldie Pac-Man.
Oldie Pac-Man, there it is. So we can be carried off by Oldie Pac-Man instead of his actual name, which is Scribe Galen Portno.
I like our name better.
Yeah.
Wait, he's only a scribe. He wouldn't have power armor.
They say he has power armor in this, so maybe they made a mistake. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he's supposed to actually be a knight.
Fake
Maybe
fan.
he stole it.
He should, if he's a scribe, he would have red robes.
Yeah, his suit of T60 power armor. So he was like the only one at his post. So I wonder if they I don't know. There's probably some backstory that maybe I didn't pick up on, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe he ganked their power armor. Man, that's looked down upon in the Brotherhood of Steel. Anyway.
So with that, thank you all for playing the Fallout RPG. I had a great time with all of you. So thank you so much for playing, and thank you, our viewers, for watching us play the Fallout tabletop RPG.
Thank you guys so much.
We are looking forward to getting you more content soon. But before we go, Dalton, I think we have a list of attributions to do.
And we didn't even play the game. Why do I have to attribute anything to anybody? Give me a second.
Modiphius for making the Fallout tabletop role-playing game.
That's a start.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Thank you to Bethesda for licensing it out.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to you can thank Bethesda and then Obsidian. Was it Obsidian that made it?
I'm mad at Bethesda right now because I just spent $5 buying all Fallout 4 DLC on my PS5, only to find out that it does not work and it crashes Fallout 4 on the PS5. Bethesda, if you're watching this, fix it. Fix it now. People spent money on this, Bethesda. Fix it.
Does Interplay still exist? I think they made Fallout 1.
I think some of them work at Obsidian, actually.
Well, let's just we'll say shout out to Tim Kaine.
Yeah.
I think he made it. MattHPhotos. Yeah, MattHPhotos took the background image. The Victor Herbert Orchestra performed the recording you're hearing in the background. Roll20 we used for like our virtual tabletop and stuff, and we made some of the miniature art in Hero Forge. Yeah, thanks to all those folks and to all of our viewers and everybody here for playing.
Yeah. If you want to get more content with us, if you're watching right now on the stream, just follow us on Twitch because we're gonna be planning new streams coming up soon. We're probably gonna revisit some old RPGs we've already played, and who knows what we're playing next. So make sure to follow us so you can see when we're going live next. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to us. We always post our streams here or on YouTube after we've done them live on Twitch, usually the week after. And we also do how-to videos. We got more of those coming out in shorts. So follow, like, subscribe.
Yeah.
But most importantly, thank you again for watching, and remember to keep on learning. We'll see you guys in the next stream.